Hello and welcome to Tech About Town, brought to you by Communitech. My name is Alex Kinsella.
And I'm Allison Peel.
On today's episode, we are joined by two founders who are taking a sledgehammer to the status quo. Ren Navarro, founder of B-Diversity Group, has spent years changing the face of the craft beer and beverage industry by making space for everyone at the table. Stefanie Bruinsma, founder of AutoCate, is on a mission to put the power back in the hands of car owners, specifically those who have traditionally been marginalized or patronized. Together, we're going to talk about what it looks like to disrupt legacy boys clubs, the power of education as a form of equity, and how to build businesses that prioritize people over gatekeeping. Welcome to the show. We're excited to have you. Kind of what I want to get started with is why these industries? So why specifically automotive? Yeah. Why beverage? Like what's kind of the background? Ren, mind if we start with you?
Yeah, totally. My background is English major who went into finance, who was a general math student. I'm really sorry to everyone's credit scores that I ruined over the years. I forgot to carry the 4, but I learned about beer and alcohol kind of while working in corporate because every, like payday Thursday, you go and have drinks and stuff. And it was like the United Nations going out for drinks. But then when I went into breweries or I went into wineries, I was like the one token to be like, hey, I just want to learn about some stuff. And it wasn't until years later that I started learning about things and then questioning, like, why are we not talking about more women? Why are we not talking about people of color? Mm-hmm. And I am very, like, once I'm into something, I'm like into it. Like super hyper focused, ADHD, what's up? And so really just learning about it and questioning it. And people just kept being like, oh, this is so weird that you want to talk about it. And I was like, why? No one else talks about this. And I was like, oh, that's why it's weird, because no one else talks about this. And so, I accidentally made a company about this, but I think it was really just me being like, I don't see the representation publicly that I see like privately and with my friends.
Automotive. So fundamentally, it was I didn't know what I didn't know. I was green, naive, and had no idea what I was heading into. I was, a young girl, millennial, that Dodge Viper in 1989, that concept. Anyway, that car came out and I was hooked. I was like, yeah. I love cars, amazing. And it wasn't until I went to high school, which I did go to KCI, so I'm like a born local.
Born and bred.
And they had a really great auto program there. And I started getting into it. I did my first co-op, and that was my first experience of like, oh, girls don't actually belong here. Mm-hmm. Trying to get a free co-op job. And I went immediately to the garage that my dad had gone to for years. And the first response when I said, hey, I'm looking for a co-op, I just want to learn. He's like, absolutely not. I don't hire girls. And that continued to be the theme. And so I eventually, but that was my first idea of like, oh, I was like, I just wanted to learn cars. Let's go quickly through this. So I ended up becoming a licensed mechanic. And then I wanted to study engineering because I wanted to be a race car engineer. Again, young, so excited. I studied at the University of Waterloo. I studied mechanical engineering. I ended up having a baby during my undergrad that just derailed the whole going to travel the world and be an engineer on race teams things. So I ended up doing a lot of automotive research related. And by the time I graduated, I ran a hybrid electric vehicle research lab. I was like, this is amazing. By that point, I'd had some time and reflection and would get pulled into all sorts. And I'm curious, Ren, about like I suddenly became one of the token women, right? Yeah. Where you're getting pulled into conversations and asked to, and which is, I was happy to do because I loved volunteering and talking about and getting other women into it. And at some point in time, it just kept going. I was like, where are the women? Every space I moved into, it's just like they were fewer and fewer, and I expected there to be more and more. And one day I just got real upset, and I was like, how do you create that change? And I was like, okay, well, put on a headband, some lipstick, and show up. And I thought automotive is the best place to do that. It's one of the worst industries in terms of stagnation and changes, and even throughout other trades, the construction industry, electricity, like we're seeing representation go up, but automotive, absolutely not.
But do you see that in beer though? Like in beer and beverage? I should say it's not just beer. It's the beverage industry.
The beverage industry is weird because the like socioeconomics of diversity also weigh very heavily for like wine and spirits.
Yeah, versus beer.
Right? Beer is like everyone can find $1 to like buy a can of like or $1.25 to like buy a can of beer. It doesn't have to be a good can of beer, but you can afford it. And then wine, like. I think they're changing some of that, but like if you found an $8 bottle of wine, everyone's like, ugh, it's not going to be good.
Came in a Tetra Pak.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, like, honestly, some of the Tetra Pak stuff's like so good. Baby dog. Just because you can make it doesn't mean you should. But I think that, yeah, there's this like the socioeconomics that we don't talk about. And then it kind of goes from there. And again, when we talk about like who drinks what, like liquid is so gendered that wine is for women, like rosé all day. Like, come on now.
Right.
Like it's such a low bar, right?
Yeah.
And like, you know, and fruit beers and like fruited sours are always for women. And it's like, they're not, you know, and then when you get to like quote unquote hard liquor, like women are not in the space, or at least not invited into the space. And there's so much pushback against that because obviously like we can drink this stuff, like, you know, and so I think that, yeah, it's that same kind of thing that the flip side of like, you know, if we're looking same side of the coin, really, if, you know, mechanics is like fully male, then they're drinking beer and spirits. And then wine is not a thing in that space because like that's a girly thing. And I think there is definitely a push to change it. So this isn't one of those like, this still is terrible, but it's so niche and it's in so many pockets. Like personally, I think, you know, when I don't put on my like thinking hat about like the state of the world, I'm always like, oh yeah, like the problem is solved. And it's like, nope, those are my friends. And that's the algorithm that I've created to like just show me the stuff. And the second I step out of it, I'm like, oh, right. The room is actually on fire. Great. Amazing. And no one has a fire extinguisher.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about both your companies before we kind of kick off even more?
So AutoCate, it literally stands for Auto and Educate. And the goal with AutoCate is, you know, the best founder story or like the why of the problem is, you know, I bring it back to my sisters. I have 6 older sisters. None of them are mechanics, right? But baby sister's a mechanic. And they would take their cars in for various services and not, you know, and be not sure or worried that somebody was selling them something they didn't need. So I know they are.
Yeah, 100%.
They're definitely selling you things you don't need. But they had me to call. And it would start from like, no, say yes, or just, you know, simple instructions. And when it got real bad, it was like, no, put baby sister on the phone. We're going to have some words. And so AutoCate was, you know, the founding of AutoCate, and what we want to build is like, how can we be a big sister for every woman out there, or any person who's underrepresented, any person who feels guilty about asking like, what wiper blade goes with my car, which is silly because like I'm an expert. You don't need to know this, but you can ask me and I can explain it to you so you don't feel dumb. And so that's what AutoCate aims to do is we want car owners to be in control of their car care, to make informed decisions and have choices.
I love that.
B Diversity Group started as Beer Diversity in 2018. And it was really about having those like conversations and moments where you got comfortable with being uncomfortable. And then in 2023, it expanded to not just be alcohol because, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, if you could do it all over again, like, I don't think I would have called it beer diversity, but like, that's what I was in the middle of. And I was just like, yeah, it's beer. But I always say to people, like, the issues and the comments and the conversations around lack of diversity, like, it doesn't matter what industry it is, it's still the conversation. It just happened to be at that point, I slapped the word beer on it. And so then changing it to Be Diversity Group allowed me to kind of like show up in other spaces. Because there was also that weird, like, I'm talking about making beer more diverse. And then people were like, oh, we don't talk about beer here. So, like, I don't think we want to talk to you. And I was like, this is literally what I'm trying to fight against. So I think that, yeah, the company really is just about how do we have these conversations, and like, there are no dumb questions, and like, you know, have a safer space to have a real and honest conversation. But like, let's also figure out the action items, because I really noticed that a lot of things weren't happening with that. We just talked about it and watched it circle the drain forever.
Right.
So with this company, I really aim to kind of kick people down the drain and like, let's take a trip and figure some stuff.
Well, and the theme that's common about both companies, not that they're common companies, but about
We can be common.
We can go.
very
Yeah.
We're into that.
the common theme of your unique businesses is education.
Yep.
Right. And through
Yeah.
that. And so we often talk about diversity and equity and inclusion being important things, but teaching people that and telling people that are two different things. So how does education play a role in that getting the message out and changing things, hopefully?
Oh, so here's my favorite story.
Yes.
Favorite story for everyone to take home for every family event. I guess next one is Easter. Okay, I want to be the reason things got tense at the dinner table. So with education, and like the best example that I can bring home for anyone, because everyone's been in a car before, is every car you have ever been in. So I'm an engineer, so let's put on my engineer hat for a minute. If I'm working for GM, Ford, Toyota, it doesn't matter. And as an engineer, my role is to make a cockpit design or oversee the team that makes the cockpit, the driver's cockpit. Cool. The set of constraints I'm given, right, because, it needs to be designed to fit a human. The set of constraints I'm given to adhere to are all based on an average male body frame. An average male is 5'9" and 160 pounds. So if you happen to be a smaller person and fall outside of that, and women, the average height for women is 5'4", I believe, or 5'6", anyway, but it falls outside of that category. So then this realization moment, this aha. So if you are a person, and again, mostly it is women, but a person who is less than 5'7", 6", you are going to have significant disadvantages, like physical limitations. I'm 5'8". I'm 160 pounds. Real open about that. Tell all your friends. I fit into that category. So like when I'm driving, I'm okay. But I grew up my entire life where it's generally understood women are terrible drivers.
Mm-hmm.
Then to have this aha moment, no. Is she a terrible driver, or is she 5'2" and she physically can't see?
Yeah.
Is she going through the Tim Hortons parking lot? Is that woman like, everyone laughs at women when they hit those posts, but it's like, oh yeah, but how tall is she? Is she physically, is there any way she can actually put her driver's seat such that she could see that post the way I can? No. So this idea that your entire environment is made not for you. And in terms of that educating piece, so, how do we flip that? Well, one, we identify it and we start talking about it. But how, when we talk about needing women in this space, well, women would design cars for women.
Yep.
Right? Like how it's been in the history of cars, no car's ever been made for a smaller body type. And how do we change that? Well, we start getting smaller body types building cars.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because I'm always on the advantage side too, because I'm 5'9". So but my sister-in-law is 5'3", and we at one point had the same trucks because our husbands are brothers and somehow bought the exact same trucks on the exact same day, but didn't talk to each other about it. So we showed up to their place with the same truck. And she struggled all the time. And she was driving my truck once. I'm like, it's the same truck. It's literally this, like our box was shorter and theirs was, but other than that, it was the same truck. She's like, I effing hate this vehicle. She had a little like Mazda 3, right? So it was a lot different, but I never thought about that. It's that it's literally not designed for her because she's got short, like she's tiny.
Yeah. I'll add to that just a quick thing. There are women out there whose feet are so small, they cannot pivot their foot back and forth between gas and brake.
I had friends who drove with both feet, and I was like, what are you talking about? And it's because they couldn't reach.
Well, and if it makes you feel good about your mission, is my oldest daughter's learning how to drive. And I noticed that where she would take off her foot off the gas and put it on the brake. I'm like, what are you doing? Then I'm like, oh, you have small feet. I have a size 13.
Mm-hmm.
She is like a 5, like a woman's 5. I'm like, oh, okay. If you can, here's how to do it. And then seeing different cars and how they are. So it's like, yeah, I would have just thought she's a terrible, she's not great.
But she's learning.
But that's also experience.
She's not great, but like, it's also because she's learning.
Yeah.
And it's a whole thing. She doesn't listen to this, so it's fine. Totally. I also
can
talk
rip on
trash
her, no
about
problem.
her taste in music. We see that in healthcare all the time. So when we have guests on talking about healthcare research, both physical health and mental health, you hear that all the time where a medical device like high Ivy, the medical device hadn't been changed in over 100 years.
Yep.
It's so wild. It was just in the news again, and it's the HeLa cells. So it's cancer research.
Yep.
And it's named for Henrietta Lacks, who was a Black woman whose cells were mined basically against her will and have been used for the last 50 years for cancer research. And her family only found out like 30 years ago or 40 years ago. And so when you talk about these things that are not made for people, or, you know, we're experimenting on humans, it's wild. Like BMI is, you know, made for white guys and doesn't go outside of any other group of people.
Literally everybody is obese.
Oh, that's always my favorite.
I'm like off the charts.
Oh,
obese.
I'm dead.
Literally,
I'm
I don't
dead
even know how I'm
obese.
walking
dead
around.
obese. But it's that same thing, right? Talking about these moments where the education of being able to have these conversations and say, "Did you know?"
Yeah.
My like favorite worst car story even was the woman in Toronto. This is a long time ago now, but she was 5'2" and had an accident where it like maybe a couple bruises, but she was so small that when the airbag deployed, the airbag killed her. And then they had to change the rules to say if you are under a certain height, you can have the airbag turned off. And I just thought, but airbags now are in 18 spots in your car.
Mm-hmm.
Side, ceiling, front.
Yeah. Do you have a similar kind of educational story? And it doesn't have to be a beverage related one, but
I mean, I think that the part of it for me is that as a Black woman, just being interested in a thing wasn't enough. So I had to go and get certifications. And so I have a lot of pieces of paper at home, which, you know, and now people can take me seriously because I'm an expert. And I think that that is part of what's kind of baked into a lot of that stuff, is that we're starting to change it, but lived experience doesn't have the same weight as having a piece of paper.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a university degree, and it reluctantly hangs in my office only because there's no room to hang it in the bathroom anymore, which is where it used to hang. You can figure out why, but I just, again, it's a lot of this, and that's like colonial thinking anyway, right? You're only educated if you have a piece of paper that someone told you followed the rules well enough. And not to dunk on it, because I know that some people just love learning in those situations. However, in order to be a change maker of any kind, people want to see what your credentials are. And it can't be, I'm tired of watching my sisters get fleeced by
Yeah,
you know, just trying
absolutely
to get their cars fixed, or, you know, I'm in a bar and I won't get served the thing I want because the bartender's decided that that's not girly enough for me. And I think that for me, the education and the conversation around it and understanding that like a beverage is a beverage is a beverage. And I think that, you know, the non-alcoholic sector too is really getting that right now. And the education piece is that we have to understand that it was capitalism all along and you want someone to buy it. And the states got it right. And I mean, you know this, like America for non-alcoholic beverages, Canada is sprinting to keep up.
Yeah.
And we're now seeing, you know, Gen Z and Alpha, they're coming up and they're not drinking because we've put rules on them around how they can enjoy life. They came of age during the pandemic, which means they're all feral in really unique ways. And so they're going for non-alcoholic beverages, which means that all of these places that were like, this is the man's drink, are now like, oh, wait, these kids are non-binary and they don't drink. What am I doing now? And so getting people to understand that and understand these terms and understand like the whole frontier is changing and you have to learn about this. You can't guess it.
one of the other things we were thinking about when we knew we were going to have you both on the show is around this idea of the people who own auto mechanic shops now, who own bars or restaurants. How do you kind of go about that bit of saying to them, you're already laughing?
I'm so excited for this.
Well, how do you tell them, hey, listen, if you did these things and made it more accessible and open and respectful of a wider variety of people, your business would do better. And they think maybe it'll change the culture. It's not part of the culture. This is the way we've always done it, which is a big answer.
Yeah.
We hide behind that all the time.
Yeah.
This is the way we've always done it.
Oh, so my short answer to that is we don't tell them, we show them, because don't even waste your time.
Yeah.
And the reason I started giggling is because I ran dying to have this conversation with you, because we opened a brick and mortar facility in 2025, right? And it was for me, it was a really surreal because I've been a part of Communitech and Velocity and the tech scene for so long. This was our first, we physically moved back to blue collar land. And I definitely took some things for granted or forgot completely. Yeah. And stepping into some of those spaces is such a time warp sometimes. And so there are circumstances and garages that we align with that they're quick to like listen or curious. I'll take curious
Yeah.
over anything. And there's other ones, don't even waste your time. Like just maybe they'll ask for a lifeline, but you're just kind of watching I'm sitting there going, enjoy your legacy system and see how far that gets you.
Yeah, I think it's some of it is the same. I think that there is the adapt or move out of the way mentality that needs to come into it. Spending is different. I mean, all we ever say all day long is in this economy. And so it's if you retain that old school thinking, like people, there's a certain person who will spend $10 to $12 for a drink, 14 to 16 for a cocktail. However, they're starting to stay home. They're starting to, they're the loyal folks who always drink the one thing. They stick to a certain label. The kids who are coming up now are all over the place. They're excited. They want different things. They have sweet teeth. Forget a sweet tooth. They have sweet teeth.
Oh, it's those Starbucks drinks.
Oh, yeah. Like there's just, but it's like, right? It's sugar on sugar on sugar.
I love
bubble tea. I do.
No
like
judgment.
very little.
Bubble tea.
Very,
It's
very
very
little
sweet,
sugar.
that's all.
Very little sugar. Very little sugar. But that's the thing, right? So if you're not adapting to that, you're losing an entire market. And if you're not adapting, someone else is.
Yeah.
And it's that whole thing where it's like you show them, right? Like this night where there's all these kids and there's, and I say kids, they're like 19 to 24, but
They're kids.
they're kids, right? Like you've dropped them off for the evening. But I think that the places that get it right almost immediately show it because there are options. There's non-alcoholic options. We're allowing people to not be so overstimulated anymore. A lot of bars have kept with that overstimulation. Everyone got diagnosed with ADHD during the pandemic, unless you were lucky enough. What's up? Now I'm like, oh yay, everyone's caught up, right? It's like everyone's caught up with us, and now everything's comfortable. But the bars that didn't adapt are, they're seeing that no one shows up anymore, and like so it's that you got to show them that those few places can do it, and the places that are doing it aren't saying we did the thing. They're just showing it. They're doing amazing social media posts. They're getting other people to post about them. You've made it when someone else posts about the thing you did because you don't have to stand there and say you did it. So it's really quite interesting to see that shift.
Because somebody else is tooting your horn.
Yeah.
And that's speaks volumes, right? It's like the whole goes back to like retail 101 and the review from, X person about your product goes way further than the $100,000 you just spent in advertising,
right?
Because that's what they care about.
And I mean, also these kids aren't watching TV.
No, well,
right?
exactly. Well, it's so true, and it's interesting because, because when I grew up, every beer, whatever print ad, publication, billboard, like whatever it was a woman in a bikini,
Yes,
maybe with a motorcycle, which she didn't know how to drive clearly and was just sitting there. Like that's
with the terrible shoes.
Yeah.
Like girl,
Oh,
you would rip your toes
8-inch
off
stilettos with no cover on your toes, and you're on your motorcycle in your bikini. Like that's exactly how you drive. No helmet either.
it seems safe.
It was perfect. It's 100%. That road rash can hurt. Just gonna throw that out there. But I've noticed recently, because like if we watch TV, it's full on like Netflix or whatever. So we don't get a lot of commercials. But I was at my dad's place the other day, and they just watch plain old Bell. That's what they have. And there was the commercial. I can't remember who it was for, but it was for a beer, and there was no woman in the commercial. And I was like, whoa. Are you sure? Are you sure this is for beer?
Yeah.
But they're obviously, some of them at least are pivoting that mindset a little bit to recognize, to your point, like they, not he or she, may or may not be drinking, but now I have to change my mind and like more subtly than like throwing it out, but change my positioning to attract this new generation.
Oh yeah, and I think that the one beer that I always think of that's like did it right is Michelob Ultra. And I mean, their whole stance is like, you can go and work out and then have a beer. And I'm like, that's weird. I don't know what you're telling me. But it's like subtly diverse because it's just crowd scenes and it's just people like hanging out. And so unless you're looking for it, then you're like, oh my God, there's like a bunch of women doing things. But otherwise it's just like peopling. And it's also diversity of age.
Yeah.
Which, like, again, right, like that bikini girl was like 19 to 22.
Yeah.
And so I think that there are a bunch of places that are doing it, and a lot of the breweries that are doing things like that are also giving non-alcoholic options.
Yep.
I'm all for the non-alcoholic options.
I think they're also getting better.
They are getting better.
They're getting a lot better, and I think that they're realizing that people like want it, and it's not necessarily, and that's the other piece of education and change and adapting, is that not everyone who drinks a non-alcoholic product does it because they have to. Like I drink alcohol. Sometimes I'm like, maybe I should chill, but I still want to drink something. So a non-alcoholic option is fantastic.
Yeah.
The Michelob Ultra, like one, I don't really like that beer, full disclosure. But I remember when they came out because like I've been in the fitness industry on the side for years, and that's what they really went with their market on that. Like stay fit, but like don't get too many calories. And
I think they were the first. Yeah, they were the first about calories.
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting. But side note for you, Ren, because cars and beer, this is the conversation, right?
Yeah.
I didn't start drinking beer until I started fixing cars.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And also, I'll take you back. I was on Victoria Street. I was working at a small garage, and like one of those hot days, right? And if you're a mechanic, like not only is it hot, there's no air conditioning. The doors are open. I am under your very hot car because you just drove in after, 30 minutes, right? I've got hot oil dripping. I'm a woman, so, sometimes that drip finds its way and pools in my bra. It's terrible, right? But like, that's the reality of it, right? So I'm painting this, I'm sweaty, I am gross, I stink. And at one point I was 19 years old, right? Like, you don't drink beer at that age, well, for me anyway. And there was just like at one point where I was like, water's not going to cut it. Water could never. I was like, I just needed an ice cold beer. And that's when I started drinking beer. Electrolytes.
I mean, it's funny because it's like, I'm from Trinidad, and I always joke, like, obviously the accent gives it away. But my parents, their relationship with beer was either it was a Guinness, which means that it was nutritional because Caribbean Guinness is iron rich.
Yeah.
And then, or it was beer because it's so hot, water will do nothing. And I like, for people who are listening who are like, yeah, it's like, no, there comes a point where water does nothing for you. And it's terrifying when it hits that point, but a beer will just get you. And I think it is because of those little extra bits that are in there. But yeah, my relationship with beer was like, it's super hot out, have a beer.
In Florida, we had the Coronitas, like the little 8 ounce, and the 8 ounce Michelob and Michelob Lights were because it was so hot, the beer would get warm too quickly. So you'd have a smaller container.
Yeah, like the little mini pop containers. Yeah.
You just get a bucket of Coronitas, like 10 Coronitas for $5.
Wow.
You used to be able to get pitchers for like
Trump.
$3.
Yeah, it was like back in my day.
Yeah. When dinosaurs roamed the earth.
When I rode my dinosaur to the bar.
Everything was cheaper.
Now I can't even get a beer for $25. Would either one of you or both of you say that you've seen a difference in the industry, like since you've joined, whether it's like the auto industry or the beverage industry, but since you've kind of either kicked off your business or just really become, more involved in the industry? Do you think you've seen a change?
You just made the best face.
I'm just so glad we're on voice here.
Well, because I'm thinking like with all of the like, there's a big push for like women in trades. I'm not necessarily saying there's a big push for women in
there's still a
beverage,
big,
but like there's such a big push for it, and I just wonder if you've actually seen it happening.
Yes and no. I don't even know if it's because of the pushes or other external factors. Like, I love social media and what it's social. So like, okay, every shop I've ever worked at, I'm still the only woman who's ever worked there. So like the first garage I did finally get a co-op I was 15 when I started there, and that was 2003-ish there. And I am still the only woman to have ever worked in that garage.
Interesting.
Years later. And and maybe I just don't have a lens on the full industry because it is slow moving. But what I would say is like social media though has allowed me to easily connect with other women techs and other women in different trades.
Okay.
And so that I think is the amplifier. And I think there's something special about women. We connect and we get excited about sharing with one another. I think even, historically with women specifically, like 20 years ago, especially in that millennial generation, there was we were taught more to gatekeep and be competitive against one another, and that's what's broken down. And now women are connecting and reaching out, and like the millennials are getting feral.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's so good.
We see that with Grand Valley Construction all the time, right? With the women in trades programs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You made a good point, though, because we were always taught there wasn't enough space for all of us.
Yes.
Yes.
So I had to knock you down to get my space. And like, you know, God forbid you went on mat leave. Like it was like a fear on like when like my kids aren't that old, but my youngest is 8, but even my oldest is 13. And it was like, I remember going on mat leave thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna have another, like, because we were always taught that in order to succeed, you had to step on people, not hold people's hands and bring them with us, right?
Yeah, which is so wild, and I think that's why it always succeeds, because there's still too many of us who believe that.
Yeah.
And I think that, like you, it's kind of a yes and no. I think that more breweries and more places, like public places, so bars and restaurants and whatnot, are doing value statements, or they're doing house rules and code of conduct. And instead of just being like, we're a safe space, they're actually saying, here are the things we're trying to do, and here's why you want to hang out here. And if we're not doing this, like, call us out on it. And I think that kind of stuff has really changed, because, again, you have these groups of folks who are now entering this space being like, is this actually a space for me? And you need to tell me. Like, I'm not just going to sit here where the rest of us are like, I don't know, this place is kind of weird. Maybe we should go. We've been here for 2 hours. We should just stay. Yeah. And I think that is such a huge change. And social media makes it really easy to be like, this place is bad news bears. Don't go.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen and I've been hired by places that have been called out on social media, because it's that once one person posts it and someone else says, oh, yeah, I have a story too, that catches fire. And that is the worst kind of fire you want.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to start wrapping up. But before we wrap up, 2 things for both of you. So the one big question for change makers who are listening to the podcast today at an organization, and it could be a tech company, it could be a bar, it could be an auto shop, it could be a law firm, whatever, anywhere. If there's someone there who's like, I want to take a step to change what's happening here, to make it more open, more accessible, more available, well, what would your recommendation be?
Oh, I love this. I'd say it's like, because it's within your control and they're easy things, and I think they seem small, but they start a domino effect. Look at the environment. Like, sit down, get comfortable with it, and really look at the environment. So, for example, studying engineering at at Waterloo, right? Like, there was this one hallway that I always had to walk down, and it was white man, white man, white man, white man, and like paying homage to everyone that built this place, but subtly it's telling me, oh, I don't belong, I don't belong, I don't belong. Right? There's no plaque of a woman up on the wall. Definitely not a plaque of a woman of color. And combine that with like, okay, so in that same building, there was it's pictured kind of like a square, right? So 2 parallel hallways, and there was 3 men's bathroom and 1 woman's bathroom. And in the 1 woman's bathroom, there was a shared sanitary deposit holder, right? And then the men's bathroom, which I had to walk. If one way I would walk by 2 bathrooms, and the other way I'd walk by 1 bathroom. The one in the men's bathroom had showers in it and like a whole suite of services. But it is, and I understand the history of where that came from, but if you are not willing to sit in your environment and be like, what is our environment systematically teaching people over and over and over again? And in that case, you may not be able to change the bathroom. I understand that, but you can put a sign up and acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can look for other ways, but once you start looking for them, there's more and more. So one of the examples I gave was a shop owner was talking, because like often every shop doesn't have bathrooms for women. Even if there is like a change room, it's strictly like it's only men. So I've had to use change rooms in customer areas many, many times. It's pretty embarrassing. So shop owners with like legacy buildings will be like, well, what can I do? I'm like, well, if it's a shared bathroom, you can start by putting a sign above the toilet that says, we keep the toilet seat down here now.
Yeah.
I'm like, because at the end of the day, and this is one hill I'll die on is, and I do have a bad hip, right? Is like, if that toilet seat gets left up and I just don't notice it, I'm in the toilet.
Yeah.
If a man comes in there and peeing on the seat, well, that's like physically he's not going to hurt himself.
Right.
And so you can make it cute, put a cute little sign of like reminder, but those subtle cues to people entering those spaces are like, oh, you've thought about me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I am included here.
Yeah. I think that if you're gonna be the change maker for a space, like power in numbers, don't tackle it on your own. I think that is the biggest thing that I wish I had more help. I had some really great mentors and they were all in the States. And which means that I have virtual support, but like when someone's screaming in my face, I'm just like, okay, cool. And I think that, find mentors, find people who are thinking like you, and they don't have to stand behind you while you make the change, but they're just kind of the people that you touch base with. I mean, like we'll sit and have a drink. Like it doesn't have to be a person in that same area, but it has to be someone who's also doing something like it. And when you get ready to make your change, understand that pushback will be huge. Even if it's a small thing. I mean, I remember telling people like putting your pronouns in your signature is like a really easy thing. And people being like, yeah, but everyone knows I'm a dude. And it's like, like your name's Drew. You could be a girl. Like, and having to like kind of push it back to be like, you know who you are. I've never seen you before. And you're talking to someone on email. And like, what is it that you want to convey? You tell me you're a good human and you're a safe space, prove it. Mm-hmm. And so I think just kind of reminding people of what the benefits are, of making changes. The what's in it for me piece is huge. So yeah, keep that in mind.
As someone named Alex who works in marketing, I have been misgendered so many times I've lost count. And invited to some really good girls' nights that I couldn't go to.
You should have just gone.
Should have shown up and just been like, but that's a good one. Okay, and so for both B-Diversity and AutoCate, how do people get a hold of you, learn more about what's happening?
On the interwebs, it's either bdiversitygroup.com or on Instagram at bdiversitygroup.
Love it.
Same here. We're autocate.ca.
Is it Kate with a C or a K?
C.
I know it's
questions,
right? I was like, I know
like
it's a C.
Yeah, think advocate or educate. So AutoCate with a C. On Instagram, TikTok. Follow us. Get attached to the newsletter. Come by the shop sometime. We do so many we're starting actually. We're doing some community events. We like to be the shop you actually want to hang out in.
I know, I missed the market. The one you had in
it was good.
December.
Yeah, we're going to do another one.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for joining us in the studio. This was really great. Allison, thank you.
Of course, anytime.
Once again, if you have questions about how Communitech can help with this topic or a whole bunch of other things related to helping tech companies start, grow, and succeed, you can visit communitech.ca or follow along on social media at Communitech on all the major platforms. Once again, my name is Alex.
And I'm Allison.
Thanks again for listening.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.